to forget this for those. So yeah, we record this for everybody who cannot be here. And yeah, if you agree, I would like to start and introduce the speaker. So welcome everybody again to our Monday sessions of the medical practitioners of telehealth today. And yeah, like in the previous weeks, we have an excellent speaker, and this time a former, I think a former, or is still practicing as a surgeon, at least
No,
an
yeah,
educated and practicing surgeon, former surgeon, I would say. But you will introduce yourself in a minute. And now a coach, business coach, success coach. You will also explain us what this means, and the founder of Successwork. Yeah, success work, and you see the letters. It shows that there is some German background. Also, the name shows it. And yeah, we had some meetings in the previous weeks, and Felix was also on my podcast, and I appreciate very much our talk. And I thought what you have to say is very important also for medical practitioners and for careers as medical practitioners, as a solopreneur in the medical field. And this is the reason why I'm invited you. And yeah, we are very happy that you're here in this Monday meeting, and the stage is yours. And you will talk about how to grow online. And you have experienced a lot in the last couple of weeks and months, isn't it?
yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. Really excited to be here. Really excited to be here on a live event. Those are always so much more powerful. So, if anybody has any questions while you're here and live with us, by all means, please ask. I'm an open book. I'm really here to help and serve you all. So if you have questions, throw them at me. I'm happy to answer any and all of them. If you're listening to this, I guess, on the recording later, reach out on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active. Happy to answer any and all of your questions as well. And like Vanna just said, please use the chat. So let me just throw that out there. Yes. So my name is Felix Boecker. I am a trained trauma surgeon by background. I did leave medicine at the end of 2023. My contract expired December 31st, and I've gone full time into coaching now. So give you a little bit longer story. Yes, I was born and raised in Germany. I was 15 when we came to the United States. So that's a little bit where the name comes from. Werk is a German word, means factory. That's why Successwerk is the success factory. There's been some confusion with some of my clients before. Is it works? But no, it's Werk. It's a German word, which can be confusing. But you know, the funny thing too there is people say, oh, it's so confusing. Like, well, you didn't know what Google meant before Google, and I still don't know what Bing means. So the name really isn't everything. It's really the people that are behind it ultimately that matter. So yeah, came to the United States when I was 15, finished high school in Florida, 10, 11, 12. Went on to the University of Miami for my undergrad studies, and as well as medical school to follow. Then went up to Philadelphia to do my general surgery training. And after that, I owed the Air Force 3 years on active duty. So I got stationed in St. Louis at their trauma training center. So the Air Force has 2 training centers that all the medical personnel in the Air Force has to go through every 2 or 3 years to be up to date on trauma patients before deployments. There's one in St. Louis and there's one in Baltimore. I got stationed in St. Louis. So that's at St. Louis University. They now have agreements with WashU as well. Really taking care of the trauma patients. What was really cool about that time was we were fully integrated into the civilian staff. So, anybody coming in from an outside did not know who was Air Force and who was civilian, which was really kind of cool. So that's where I grew into my role as a trauma surgeon, really. Level 1 trauma center, inner city. Until last year, St. Louis was the city with the highest homicide rate in the country. So if you look at the statistics, the highest per capita homicide rates went to St. Louis, which surprises a lot of people. So we saw a lot of penetrating traumas. There really wasn't a 24-hour call where it didn't have 2, 3, 4, 5 penetrating traumas. I mean, it's just mind blowing. What we saw, the violence in the city really was substantial. After my time with the Air Force, I stayed on at SLU for another year to complete a critical care fellowship, which incidentally I didn't have before I came to SLU. So that was actually a very fun position because during the day I was the fellow, but at night I took staff calls. So I was in this hybrid position where I was both a fellow and staff at the same time, which made documenting sometimes tricky because I was always like, am I the fellow here? Am I the Am I the attending? How am I going to do this? And there's some overlap too with, sometimes I took patients from the ICU that I care for as the fellow. I took them then to the OR as the staff. So it was an interesting position to say the least. But I got divorced during that time. St. Louis, that job was the best job I ever had, and also the worst job I ever had. I mean, it completely destroyed me physically, mentally, and emotionally, and destroyed my marriage too, which was on rocky grounds anyways. My ex-wife and I had met while I was still in medical school. She moved with me to Philadelphia, and then I was in residency. And during my surgical training, I always joked that I'm cheating on my job by having an affair with my wife, because I was just never home to take care of her or spend any time with. So we were on shaky grounds anyways. St. Louis made that worse. We split up. She moved back home, which is from the sort of Southeast Michigan area. And so ultimately I followed so I could be closer to the kids, because the long distance dad thing was just too much. Didn't work out for me. So that's how I ended up in Toledo, Ohio. When I came to Toledo, a lot of things happened in my life. To make a long story short, I ended up in wound care for the last 4 years now. I came to Toledo just before the COVID pandemic hit. Ended up in doing wound care, which really helped me gain some time back for myself. And no calls, no nights, no weekends. It was much more relaxed. But throughout all of that, in the last 4 years especially, what has really ultimately made the decision for me to leave medicine was I was not able to help patients the way I truly wanted to help people. It was really just profits over patients. 80% of my days were spent documenting so that someone else could bill and make money. And I never had the time to really spend it with patients, to give them the time and attention that they deserve, that they desire. And I really didn't think that I was able to truly help people to the level that I wanted to help. So that's my medical career. And like I said, I really got burned out on my career, not being able to help people the way I wanted to. And medicine never really was my first love. I love helping people. I love interacting with people and seeing them succeed, but I wasn't able to do that in medicine. And so it was an easy position for me to say, you know what, this isn't giving me the satisfaction, the fulfillment, and the meaning that I was looking for. And so I left. Now, I do still, back to your question, Vanna, I do still have a handful of patients from my practice that have reached out to me and said, no, we want you to still be my physician. I don't want to go anywhere else. I don't want to go to the big hospital. I want you to be the physician. And so I do still have a handful of people that I see on the side. But that's really just more as a courtesy and friends and family, more than anything else. I'm really not full-time active in medicine as such. Now there's still some areas that of my medical career where people are reaching out to me now that they know that I'm no longer in an employed position, and they're asking me to be more in a leadership role in the organization. So I've had a couple companies reach out to me, and we're still talking about me becoming CMO and whatnot in some of these positions. But in terms of bedside medicine, that's for the most part behind me. Dimitri, did you start doing wound care and sniff and ALF outpatient setting? Yes, it was all outpatient post-acute world. I throw a name out there. I was with Vora, VOHRA, a large national company that does wound care in nursing homes. They're a fantastic company to work for. I loved working for them. My biggest problem was I didn't have the number of patients I needed to really sustain myself. Vora here in Northwest Ohio really wasn't able to gain any foothold. And that's why I left them. They're a fantastic company to work for. I would absolutely recommend anyone who's looking to do wound care to look into Vora. I still think they're a fantastic company to work for. They really gave me a quality of life back that I didn't have before. And many of the physicians that I met through Vora felt the same. So it's a great company. They just didn't have the business, the volume for me. I was working a day and a half a week for them, and that really wasn't able to sustain myself. So that's on the medicine side of things. Now, in my personal life, where did coaching come from? I have a history of depression, suicidal thoughts. I've been through therapy countless number of times. I've been on 7 different antidepressants over the course of my life, and therapy has never really worked well for me. It was always, can we please stop talking about my mother and start talking about what I can do today to create a better tomorrow for myself, right? My past is my past. I can't change that. I'm okay with that. I need to know what Felix can do today to create a better tomorrow for Felix. And therapy was just never able to do that. It kept talking about my past. I'm like, that's done. I need to know what I can do today so I can create a better tomorrow for myself. alongside all of that, I was always raised with the assumption, the idea, the thought that coaches were swindlers and snake oil salesmen, and who needs a coach anyways? And like Tony Robbins was always poo-pooed when I was growing up. And it wasn't until 2022 when I started looking for what's my own exit strategy out of medicine that I came into real estate. For real estate, I found Bigger Pockets, which had its own podcast that was hosted by Brandon Turner at the time. And Brandon, for anybody who knows or doesn't know, he has built himself a $100 million real estate empire. And he was talking on one of his episodes about his own coach, Jason Dries. And in my mind, I was obviously thinking, why would someone who is a self-made multimillionaire have a coach? That makes no sense to me, right? They just steal your money. You don't need a coach. You've already done it. You've already reached levels of success beyond most people's imagination. Why would you need a coach? And so I looked into coaching, and I realized that coaching was the piece that I couldn't get out of therapy, right? Because coaching is asking, what can you do today to create a better tomorrow for yourself? And that clicked for me. I was like, holy shit, this is exactly what I've been looking for all these years. So I started going through coaching myself, and it just absolutely accelerated my own growth on my own personal journey. And then I realized, well, if I became a coach, I can help other people do the same. And so that's how I then became a coach. And like I said, I've been able to help people in ways that I've never been able to do in medicine. I'm actually able to spend time with clients, listen to them, and find solutions to move them forward to a better place tomorrow than where they're at today. And so that's really how my whole life came together, I would say professionally. There's all the different dimensions to that. So I hope that answers that question, Vanna. Let's, what else you want to know?
Yeah, the main question is, I think, for the people here, how to grow online, right? So how did you manage that? Because I guess you make online coaching mainly. Maybe you make also in-person coaching. I don't know exactly, or hybrid coaching. But now I know you started your online career some months ago. And what is your recipe? Or I mean, you really grew very fast, right? And but what was your recipe?
LinkedIn. Bottom line, LinkedIn. There was a lot of learning experience for me over the last year. When I started going through my own coach training, I very early on put my name out there and said, "Hey, look, I'm a budding coach. I need hours. Who's interested? Rates are discounted." And I had coaching clients really within 3 weeks of starting my own coach training program. And that was all through Facebook groups. That was actually mostly real estate investors and some of the local Facebook groups that I posted this in. But that was all done online. That was all the sessions were all done over Zoom, and they still are for the most part. I do like in-person coaching sessions. There's a little, if in-person relationships, there's always some kind of different dynamics and different energy. You connect on a very different level. It seems more intimate. You can't run away in a way from the other person. Like, on Zoom, I guess you always have the option to leave the meeting, and you don't get that in person setting. So I do like that, but you're right. For the most part, people are spread out all over the country. They're spread out all over the world. And the internet really allows us to bring that distance closer together and bridge that gap from in-person sessions. So yeah, my sessions, for the vast majority of it, other than, like maybe some friends or family that I'm, having lunch meetings with, for the most part, are handled entirely online. How do you get your name out there? Honestly, LinkedIn networking. One of the big things that I have found through many of my own colleagues that have gone through the coach training, and even some of the other people that I've met through my own podcast, there's this idea that as long as you, and I was definitely part of that as well for a long time, for the longest part of my stretch last year, was as long as I post online, I'll have people coming. And that really is sort of a fallacy, right? You have to engage with your people. And so one of the big things I always talk about is networking, because it's your network that creates your net worth. And I realized sometime last year that my network sucked. Most people in my circles, they didn't know what coaches were. They didn't know how I could help. They, they just didn't understand. And so I needed to reach out from the people that I knew to people that I didn't know, to really create a presence online for people to know me and recognize me and potentially hire me as a coach. And I would say LinkedIn is the community for that. If you look at all the other social medias that are out there, and yeah, I'm not saying you couldn't do this on Instagram. Instagram is huge, right? I think someone told me that Instagram makes $1 billion a week. So Instagram is huge. And if your strategy is Instagram, cool. That's awesome. If that works for you. For me personally, I'm not a huge fan of Instagram. It's not my thing. The only person I really follow on Instagram is my girlfriend. Otherwise, I don't really do anything on Instagram. Facebook for me had there's a lot of negativity, people always complaining about things. And LinkedIn, on the other hand, is very positive community. There's a lot of support. It's really designed to network. You're meant to connect with people and follow people and learn from people. And that's really my kind of people, right? I want to learn from you as much as you might be able to learn from me. And so LinkedIn to me, it became really the main focus for my own strategy. And the big thing there too is it's not so much about the posts that you throw out, it's about the engagement you do with other people, going out there and meeting other people, engaging with their content and having meaningful connections, deep connections, which is actually one of the reasons, one of the things that really propelled my networking last year, towards the end of last year, was this book that I wrote. It's a simple networking book. And it's not a book, it's not a textbook, it's not an academic book. It won't tell you what to do, it won't tell you how to do it. It's based on old school friendship journals, the kind of things you may have done in elementary school where it asks you, what's your favorite color? What do you want to be when you grow up? And I still have mine from like second or third grade. And that gave me sort of this inspiration for the book. So there's space in there for 100 people in the book, and you give it to one awesome person, and they, you fill out your section, they fill out theirs. It's about who you are, right? Who you are as a person, what drives you, what motivates you, what are you trying to do in the world? But then instead of that book coming right back to you, and then you give it to someone else, the idea behind the book is more like the game of 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. The person you give it to now gives it to someone else, who gives it to someone else, who gives it to someone else. And there's, like I said, space for 100 people in it. And that book, I bought 5 copies for myself. I gave that to 5 people. And that has completely transformed my own networking. The people that I've met through the book alone have been some really awesome people. The opportunities that have come about as a result of that book have been just absolutely incredible. And so that's a book that's available on Amazon for anybody who wants to start it. There's videos that I have on YouTube to kind of explain that a little bit, but a bit of a social science experiment. I mean, it's a bit of a like a message in a bottle. You throw it out into the void, and you don't know if it comes back and what will come back at you. But it's kind of a fun little social science experiment that you could do. That even if you don't want to go out and engage with people, you can still network and meet people sort of indirectly. The book will do it all for you, which is kind of cool. But really, the big thing, coming back to your original question, in terms of how do you position yourself online, primarily LinkedIn, hands down, no questions asked.
Yeah. Coming back to the book, because I think that is very interesting. How many of the books came back to you, and how long does it take to get 100 entries or 100 descriptions? Does it take 1 month, 6 months, 1 year?
Yeah.
How many books came back to you from the 5?
Yeah, it's a terrific question. I mean, that's the thing. First of all, none of them have come back yet. And like I said, there's space for 100 people in there. And if you do the math, if the book stays with 81 person for 3 to 5 days, it could take 2 years for the book to actually circle back to you. But that doesn't mean that the people who read the book can't reach out to someone who's come before them in the book beforehand, right?
Okay.
So there's space in there for everybody to leave contact information, how you want people to reach out to you. So anybody who reads the book can look at whoever came before them, right? And so there's only one book that I sent out to some of the LinkedIn circles that I know, that I know that book is now at its 6th or 7th person. And like I said, I only sent the book out right after Thanksgiving, so it's only been a couple months. The other books, honestly, they're completely lost in the void. I have no idea where they're at. All the people that I sent them to have given them to someone else. And so I don't know who they're with right now, where the books are at. I have no idea. But some of the, like I said, the people that have reached out as a result of the book have been just absolutely powerhouses of people. I mean, they've been absolutely fantastic with the opportunities. I mean, I would say indirectly, The reason I'm here on this meeting today is because of one of those books, right? Because that introduced me to someone who introduced me to someone who introduced me to Werner. So that's how I ultimately ended up sitting here today. So it's a bit of a fun social science experiment. It's definitely not something that will guarantee anything, but you know, there's a little bit of a playful tone to it, right? I mean, it's meant to be a bit of a game.
I mean, it brings us back to the LinkedIn game, right? And LinkedIn is really about networking. I mean, maybe Facebook too, maybe, but Instagram is more about the algorithm. I also would see that, right? So Instagram, of course, it can be fine to also do online marketing, but it's more about finding the trigger for the algorithm. But LinkedIn is more, and I'm also a big fan of LinkedIn. Everybody knows it, I think, in this group. It's more about the networking, and yeah, you say it's very positive. So everybody can start, and I like that you say it's more about engaging than about the post, because many people think they can only start with LinkedIn and they will grow on LinkedIn only if they post, and
Yeah.
that's not the truth, right? So you can start on LinkedIn with engaging, and later, okay, you can start with posting. I mean, you have posts, but I have posts. We have posts, of course, but first it's about networking and then about posting. So what would you say for a beginner, particularly also in the medical field? Or I mean, telehealth today is also about coaching. I mean, the people are coaching their patients, right? It's not bedside medicine, it's coaching medicine in some sense. So what would you say the coaches on telehealth today and the medical practitioners, how can they start on LinkedIn? What is the first step?
Yeah, so that's a good question. There's a few things that I would think about. For one is, yes, you have to post because people need to know what you're standing for, right? What are your opinions? What are your thoughts? Um, you know, there's people that sometimes I try to look at their profile on LinkedIn and they haven't posted anything in months. I'm like, all right, so how do I know who you are or what you stand for or how you can help? So you have to have some posts, but the way you drive engagement to the post is by engaging with other people. And you know, for that, you have to do a little bit of market research. Who are the people in a given area that you may want to connect with? Where are the people that do have a lot of connections, a lot of engagement, where you can put yourself out there so that you too can be seen in the comments, right? That one of the big things that I've seen with a lot of, I mean, just countless number of people, especially from my coaching circles, is you know, like when I first started my podcast, and I was looking for other coaches to come on as guests for the conversations. You know, I've had so many people say, "I don't have a website yet. I'm not going to do this right now." I'm like, "You don't need a website, right? What do you need a website for, right? It's all about you." Right. Especially my conversations, they're all about who someone is, what they do, and how they can help people. None of that says website. It's I see this too in a lot of the Slack conversations is, you know, you know, I'll have my website ready in 2 months. I'm like, so you're not starting for 2 months? Like you're waiting for someone else to build your website? No, stop. Seriously, just go out there and start helping people. It's all about the human experience. We all want human interactions. We don't want to interact with a website. We want to interact with people because we are people, right? And so that's really where I would say the LinkedIn strategy starts is interacting with other people as a human being authentic, uh, posting a little bit here and there just to get your name out there and what you stand for and how you can help people. But the big thing in terms of networking is absolutely the engaging with other people, trying to figure out who are some of the people. Like you dive, you know, you go into somebody, you know, like Stephen Bartlett, for example. He always has like hundreds of comments on his posts. So you go through the comment section and see who's commenting and which one of those people can you go on their profile and see what they stand for, and can you comment on their stuff. You just go down the rabbit hole for a couple hours a day and you start making connections, and then people start recognizing you because you're around more and your comments get seen and your posts get seen. But that's really where it starts. James, when you have your first coaching session with a new client, what do you tell them to create a long sustaining relationship? What do you say to keep a client engaged and retained? You know, with any first conversation, I'm very client centric. It's all about the client. What do they really want? And the big thing for me to understand is what are really their hopes, dreams, and desires in any situation, right? Because if I don't understand that, I can't help them. And if they don't even understand what their hopes, dreams, and desires are, then that's where we have to start. Who are you as your true and authentic self? That's where it all starts. That's where everything starts in life. Who are you at your core? And so that's really where a lot of the coaching relationships start with is who are you? And once we have that figured out, then we can figure out, well, what are your hopes, dreams, and desires? And then we can figure out how are we going to make those happen. So the who are you is almost goes towards that why, right? That Simon Sinek why. Why do you do what you do? And so, but we got to figure that out. Everybody really needs to know who they are at their core. Who is their true and authentic self? And only when you know that and understand that, then you can really figure out how you can make the rest of it happen. But if you don't know where you start, you don't even know how you're going to get to where you want to go.
And Dimitri had a question right before mine that I
Oh,
accidentally.
oh, gotcha. Thanks for pointing that out. I didn't, and I saw Dimitri's name, and I knew you had a question before. Would you say your coaching strategy is predominantly directive, non-directive, or do you adjust it depending on the decision? Very much, it's a personalized approach. You know, I'm a surgeon by background, and I definitely have the patience of a surgeon. I don't like to deal with bullshit, and so I am somewhat direct in that sense. Sometimes calling people out on their BS. But at the same time, there's some people who take offense to that. They're just not receptive to that kind of feedback. In the beginning stages, especially, it's about creating that relationship. Same thing as if anybody, you know, comes to me as a physician, right? They need to know who I am. Can they trust me? And that's the first step. Can they trust me? Because if I don't have their trust, then there's no way I can help them. And so that's always the first step, is figuring out how can I build that trust with that person. In whatever sense it works. And I try to be as empathic as possible with any person that comes. You know, I've been asked this question a few times now in the last month, what makes a great coach? And the answer that I keep coming back to over and over and over again is quite simply love. Love. That's what makes a great coach, right? Someone who loves the other human being, who loves the other human being to the point where they really are curious about them and want to get to know them and who they are, what they stand for. But also a love to want to see the other person succeed, a love to want to push you just enough so that you can change and you can become better for yourself. So it all boils down to love, and whatever that takes in any relationship. And you know, I just had a podcast episode that I published yesterday on the love languages. Those kind of got, you know, quote unquote debunked a few weeks ago with some research papers that came out, and I think that's I think those papers are full of shit. Pardon my German there. But I think the love languages speak to who we each are as human beings, what our wants are, what our needs are, what our own desires are, and understanding what the other person wants and what the other person needs ultimately drives better relationships with human beings. And so love is really what makes a great coach. So have you stopped practicing as a surgeon, or do you coaching and online sessions? So I would say 99% of my time is coaching. Like I said, I have a handful of patients that I still see on the side. That's all cash only. I don't deal with insurances at all. If anybody wants to hire me as their own personal physician, it's cash only. And I come to their house. I do house calls. But that's all on a very personal level. And it's like I said, I don't just take anybody off the street. These are all people that I've had a relationship with before, that have wanted me to continue to be their physician now that I left the company that I was working for the last few years.
Well, maybe I can continue with a question here. After you started to be a coach, do you see your patients differently now? Did you
Absolutely.
change how you treat your patients or how you talk with your patients? What did change?
You know, that's actually a terrific question, and definitely I've noticed that as well. I've always been trying to be more interested in what the other person actually wants, what the patient actually wants to get out of the relationship. In the surgical world, a lot of times we really don't have a lot of time to make that happen, and so we're always very rushed and brash about it, and you know, try to just say, all right, here's the answer to your question, moving on. And that's definitely been one of my frustrations towards the end of my really big medical career, I would say, is that I didn't have the time to really dive more deeply in with my patients. And so the patients that did keep coming back week after week after week, we were able to build that up over time so that I could have a bigger ear for what do they really want out of this? What really are the goals? You know, what are they trying to achieve, and what's possible for them? I mean, so many times, a lot of the people that I saw were in very resource limited areas, from subspecialty support standpoint, from a home health standpoint, from a product availability standpoint, and so a lot of times we had to sort of cut corners and just accept what is available to us, knowing that it's not perfect. It's probably not going to give us the desired outcome. So, you know, what is some alternative that is acceptable to us based on the available resources. But yeah, absolutely. I would say my approach to seeing patients has absolutely changed as a result of having had the coach training. Terrific question. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. If there are other questions, you can still put them to the chat, or you can also unmute your microphone and ask the question directly as you like. Maybe in the meantime, yeah, go ahead, please.
Well, yeah, no, I just had a kind of a question based on just what you were saying. So if you have a client that says something that's out of maybe your expertise or the expertise of the medical thing, like when you say who they are, like they say, okay, I'm a guy that needs to make money, that needs to make a relationship, that might not have something to do with medical. How do you encompass that into what you're doing?
You're talking about my coaching clients?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, my coaching clients for the most part are people that are wanting to make a difference, right? I'm looking at the high achievers that are, beyond just having a knowledge base or physical abilities. It's all mindset based. So I don't coach medical folks. As a matter of fact, I think medical folks are some of the hardest coaching clients to get. So I don't do that. And this is actually a great question. It's a conversation that I had with Arndt Hadenbrock on my channel, actually. So just to give you a different spin on it, Arndt comes from the corporate world. Was a very big on sales and leadership in the corporate world. And what he has found going into life coaching now, that the people that he thought he was able to connect with most, which were the executives and leaders in the corporate segment, he really can't coach because he knows too much about them. And so he is more interested actually in finding people from different paths of life that he has no idea about, so that he can continue with the natural curiosity to learn about the other person and their problems and where they're coming from. And I'm the same way. It's not that I don't coach medical folks because I come from the medical world. I'd be happy to coach any person in the medical world if they so desire. It's more, I'm trying to branch out as well. I'm trying to meet new people because I have been so ingrained in the medical world. I really haven't had a chance to experience anything else. And for me to be able to connect with other people from different areas of life and see the world through a different lens has been so truly eye-opening for me. And for me, it's such a huge growth factor that I much prefer working with people who don't have a background in medicine. But like I said, that's not to say that I couldn't. It's just not the people that I chase after. Did that answer your question, James?
Yeah, no, that was perfect. Go after your own curiosity and help them at the same time. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Absolutely.
Thank you for that presentation. This is Dimitri. No question, but just general comment. I definitely concur with how you described your time as a surgeon. I'm a registered dietitian. I'm not a surgeon. I'm a registered dietitian, but majority of my work, especially when I used to work in a skilled nursing facility, it's nothing about patient care. It's all about documentation and keeping the regulatory agencies happy. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you've heard about ACA, Department of Health. They come in every year to do the survey.
Right.
So I got out. I moved. I got out of the skilled nursing facility and moved into the dialysis sector. So I'm a registered dietitian in dialysis. Similar paperwork, but it's less of a burden. I have more opportunity to engage with patients. But I see where you're coming from. It's what our medical institution has become. It's like too much administrative overhead.
Right. Absolutely. No, you're so right. And that's why I say it's really nowadays it's profits over patients. And that really what us frontline providers, right? That's not why we went into medicine. We went into medicine to help people, right? But it's that administrative burden from above that drives profits over patients that really frustrates all of us. So no, I hear you on that. And then good on you to find a better path.
Yes.
But even the dialysis world, I mean, there's it's a smaller segment of the population, much more narrowly focused than all comers in a nursing home. But yeah, there's still a lot of documentation that happens in that space as well. Although you can standardize a lot of
Yes.
it too. Yeah.
Yes, that is true. But at least I have a smaller census and more time to engage. So
Right.
yes.
That's awesome. Well, truly good on you. That's awesome. I love that. We all need to find ways to reinvent ourselves and find a better place for ourselves, because at the end of the day, the corporation doesn't care who we are. They just want to fill a spot with someone who can do something for them. And it's on each and every one of us to look out for ourselves and our families and our own mental and emotional health, because they don't care about it.
Yeah. So to continue that, really my plan is to enter the outpatient, being that solopreneur, so that I don't have to deal with that administrative burden. I could focus on the real reason why I went into healthcare. So that is my ultimate goal, indeed. Is there anyone else on this group chat?
Yeah,
I got
also
one
want to
more question.
encourage.
Okay.
Oh yeah, okay, James, go ahead. And please,
But-
everybody who has a question, you can put it to the chat, and Felix is happy to answer that. Okay, James, please.
Someone's watching this replay and they say that guy's great. I want him as a coach. Where do I send where do they go?
Yeah, no, that's a terrific question. So the links, my link tree is at brokesurgeon.com, broke, BROKE, surgeon.com. That's the easiest way to find all my website, my YouTube channel, my podcasts, and everything else I stand for, my my Facebook profile if you wanted, my LinkedIn. Otherwise, successvalc.co is my website, and anybody can schedule a call right through the website, and hit me up on with a Zoom call, and we can figure out what it'll take for you to be successful. But yeah, the quickest and easiest way for me to even say this here, for anybody who's just listening in, is brokesurgeon.com. That'll send you anywhere you want to go with me.
And that has good call to action to convert people looking into an appointment.
Yes, yeah, that'll take you to, like I said, my website, where there's a scheduler on the website. It'll take you to my LinkedIn. You can reach out on LinkedIn directly to me. So easy, really easy to contact.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I also went to your website and I bookmark your website.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you can see on my website, actually, it's not that I've given up on the surgical side things at all, right? Because I do say that I coach with surgical precision. And it's the funny thing there is, so as a surgeon, I was always trained that surgeons do three things: take out the bad stuff, hook up the good stuff, and stop bleeding. And that's really sort of the theme that I still incorporate into my coaching practice nowadays, right? How do we take out the bad stuff, take out all the negativity in your life, hook up the good stuff, which is all the positivity, and then stop the bleed, which is all the stuff that drains your energy, right? Get rid of all that stuff, take it out so that we can stop the bleed, fill you up with energy, and hook up the good stuff in your life. So I haven't completely given up on my medical background, because I do incorporate a lot of the mindset stuff and the principles that I learned from a surgical standpoint, right, from a practical standpoint, into the coaching side of things as well.
Great. Maybe I can add on a question. So we discussed a question. We discussed a lot of different ways of promoting ourselves and yourself online. So we talked about videos, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. So from your personal experience in the last couple of months, what was the best connection stream, or where did you get the most new connections, but also connections where you later on had some income, or at least prospects? So what is the most successful stream, or most successful platform for you, just for you personally?
Yeah, no, it goes right back to LinkedIn.
Again, okay.
I think the second strategy that I'm working on now, even just having my own podcast, is podcasts. I think podcasts are something that is continuing to grow, and I think there's an opportunity there to engage with different kinds of audiences on different kinds of platforms in a way that I don't know that we have fully maximized the utility of that platform yet either. So I would say I started with LinkedIn, but my next phase is going to be podcasting and this kind of stuff.
So typically you reach out on LinkedIn, or you have also inbound. So we talk about inbound, outbound. We connect from our side, or people come and reach out to us. So how is the wage of this? So how much inbound, how much outbound do you have?
So the big thing I would say, from coming at this from a perspective of a coach, the outbound marketing is poor. And a big thing for that is a coach choosing the right coach is such a personal experience, right?
Yeah.
A good coach, in theory, can help anybody, but you got to have a good connection with that coach, right? Like I said earlier, you have to be able to trust that person. Which is why things like podcasts and videos and audio formats are so important, because that's really how you get to know someone before you get to know them. But the outbound strategy, like I said, there's two big reasons outbound strategy for coaching doesn't really work that well. One is, again, it has to be a very personal approach, and people need to connect with you before you can connect with them. And then the other reason I would say it doesn't really work is a lot of people don't even know how a coach can help them. If I go out there and say, hey, I'm a coach, I can help you, like, I don't even know what a coach does, or, that's just going to cost money and I can't afford that. So at least on the coaching side of things, it's the inbound strategy is much more important, because those people have already essentially converted before they ever make the phone call with you. But that's not to say if you have a different value proposition, right? If tons of people reaching out to me with their value propositions on LinkedIn all the time. So it depends on what you're trying to sell. If you are a medical provider in a very niche field, and what comes to mind right now, and this is just totally anecdotal, and it's a terrible example. But last night I was watching Bad Surgeon on Netflix. And if you think about, if you are someone like Paolo Macchiarini, who thinks he's got a solution for misformed tracheas, and you can implant a plastic trachea in someone to fix their airway, then it might behoove you to say, I have a very unique solution to your problem. And that outbound outreach may actually lead you to more clients. Like I said, terrible example, because obviously his solution didn't work at all for many, many reasons that are pretty obvious for most people versed in the medical sciences. But so it really depends on your value proposition. If you have a very unique solution to a very common problem, or a problem where people are sort of hopeless and desperate and looking for answers, then yes, that outbound outreach may actually lead you to a high rate of conversion, because people may not even know that you exist, because you're running around in very small circles. But at least for the coaching side of things, that outbound marketing doesn't work really all that well. It's mostly inbound.
But this is also true for medical practitioners, right? I mean, it's a lot about trust, particularly if you work online and you cannot go to the practice. You need to show what you're doing. You need to talk about what you're doing. And the people need to get to know you before they reach out to you the first time, maybe. Have a video about you, whatever, right? And it's also one platform we have with Telehealth Today. And it's also this platform right now on Monday, where we can connect, where we can talk, and the people will see you also on YouTube and on the channels. And I mean, Dimitri, we talk a lot, and Dimitri is also doing his own videos, and all the others. I really encourage that you show up, talk, discuss. And I know also in other fields, from people, they got new opportunities, new job offers, whatever, because they ask good questions, right? I mean, sometimes it's only if you go to a live event and ask a good question, and if you ask the second and the third time a good question, and then suddenly you get an opportunity and an offer. And I think this is the same in medicine, right?
Absolutely. And I think this is, if anything, where a physician-patient relationship can be strengthened by having that connection before it actually happens in the real world. I mean, if you think about traditionally, how things are still kind of happening in medicine, you are sort of stuck with whatever physicians are in your area serviced by your insurance company. You don't even have freedom of choice most of the time to seek out the physician you really want to seek out. Whereas if you're on your own and you get to do some research and you get to figure out who these people really are, and like you said, that's where videos, I think, are fantastic, right? Because you get to truly get to know someone at a level that you otherwise couldn't, right? I mean, a profile pic on some company's website doesn't really tell you who someone is. But if you listen to them talk on video, you get a much better idea for what they're standing for, what their energy is, And if there's someone that you can connect with, right? If you can jive with them, if you can vibe with them before you even get to the office, that's already a huge value proposition. You've essentially already converted the client before they ever, step foot in your office. So I think that's, if anything, one of the benefits to both physicians as well as patients with telehealth, because we can strengthen that relationship before it even really starts.
Are there other questions from the audience?
Yeah, I got one more. But I like what you guys said about questions, because I've heard that a million times. You're only as good, or only make the impact as good as the questions that you're asking. So I think that's really good. No, my question is, so we have a lot of young and upcoming practitioners, people that want to build themselves up. Some of them have more resources than others. Some of them might look at hiring a virtual assistant or hiring an assistant to help them build a social media presence or an online presence. So I guess my question would be, what's a general guideline on what work you need to do yourself or create yourself, and what work can you outsource, and maybe how would you recommend doing that?
Yeah. No, that's a terrific question. And it's going to depend a lot on, like you said, resources available. You can hire anything out and it's going to cost you a whole lot more money. I do think there is value in doing some of it yourself when you start out, so that you have an idea of the kind of work that actually needs to be put in. Because otherwise, if you have no idea what it takes to create a website or create a logo, or any of the other things that you need to do in terms of marketing, outreach, and whatnot, if you have no idea what it even takes, you don't even know what to ask from a professional that you might hire. You don't even know what, the other person will tell you, I could do this, that, and the other for you. And you have no idea what that really means if you don't have any personal experience with it. So my thought on this is, for the most part, especially if you're going out on your own to do this on your own, there is some value in doing at least some of it in the beginning yourself, so that you have some idea of the questions you even need to ask to someone else. How long will it take to turn this around? Realistically, what is the cost involved, right? And if someone says, it'll cost you $200, and you have no idea where to even reference that in your brain, how do you know that you're getting a good value out of that or not? Or if someone says, well, this takes 3 months, right? I mean, a lot of the websites that I know a lot of people are waiting for before they start their own business, like, well, my website is going live in 3 months. I'm like, again, why are you waiting 3 months, right? You can have a website up and running by this afternoon. If it's not going to be a terrific website, but you could have a website up and running by this afternoon if you really wanted to. Or someone who gets, it's like, oh, a domain name will cost you $100. I'm like, no, it doesn't, right? You go to any domain name provider, and a cheap domain name will cost you $10 a year. So, so you're being had. But you wouldn't know any of these things if you didn't at least try to do some of this stuff on your own first. It's only once you know what really needs to be done that you should really start looking for, where can other people help me with these different areas of the business.
I like that. So only hire what you can do yourself, basically.
Well, it's not just only hire what you can do yourself, but you should also know your limitations, right? We all have only 24 hours in the day. So there's going to be some things, like, for example, right now I'm looking for a way to outsource my video editing to someone else, because it takes up a huge chunk of my time. Can I do it? Absolutely. Do I enjoy doing it? Absolutely. But I also know it's taking up a huge chunk of my time. And so if I can outsource that, that frees up some of my time to do other things. So it's a matter of knowing your own limitations, right? Yes, I can do this. Yes, I could do this. Or, I could do this, but it's not going to be as good if someone else does it for me. So, but you got to have some idea of the kind of work that's involved with that little aspect of your business before you can start outsourcing it in a quality way, so that you know what you're looking for in that other person. I mean, bringing it back to the medical example. I mean, on a very simple level, right? I'm a surgeon. I'm a trauma surgeon. There's not a single body cavity I haven't had my finger in the last 10 years. But there are certain things that I'm not going to do, right? I'm not an orthopedic surgeon, right? If you have a femur fracture, I'm not the guy to ask. Can I put you in an X-fix and straighten out your femur and put that into traction? Yeah, I could. But am I the best at it? No. So I know enough about it to say you need to see an orthopedic surgeon. So it's sort of in that same principle, right? So, what do you know just enough about to know what your own limitations are, where someone else can help you do it better?
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you.
for sharing this. Are there maybe, yeah, 2, 3 more final questions, or even 4? Depends on how long they, or how complicated they are to answer. We have still some time. Yeah, maybe one question. What about the introverts? I mean, there might be, or I'm sure there are good medical practitioners, but maybe they're not so much extroverted. Maybe they don't want to show their video. Maybe they are in regions where they don't have this good camera equipment and so on and so on. So what about about the introverts, those who don't know exactly in the first time how to make a podcast, how to present them on video? What would you say for them, how to start?
Introverts have a special place in my heart because I'm an introvert myself. And I do think that introverts make fantastic leaders. I think they make better leaders than extroverts do. So the way I approach introverts, and that's where I actually have a whole coaching program for introverts. And it's the Rise Above program. And it's not necessarily, it's not like non-introverts wouldn't benefit from the program, but it's sort of, I created with introverts in mind. And so what Rise Above stands for, the R stands for recognize your strengths. You got to recognize what you're actually really good at first. Comes back to the question James asked earlier, right? So it's who you are at the core that we got to start with. Who is your true and authentic self? And then we go igniting confidence. So then we have to ignite some confidence on little things to get you to a better place where you can maybe put yourself out there. And then the S stands for sharing your powers through through leadership, sharing your experiences through good leadership. And then E is engaging through networking, which is really the final step because it's the hardest. I think, especially if you don't know where to start, being a guest on podcasts, for example, is a great way to start, because ideally the host will ask the questions and lead the discussion. You don't even need to think about much of anything other than knowing who you are and what you stand for, right? The host will really lead you through the conversation and guide you along the way. The other things too is, especially with social media, it's really easy. I mean, we see this all the time, right? All these trolls on the internet, they're in their mother's basement, and they put all sorts of crap out on the internet because they can. And it's the same way, if they can spread negativity while eating chips and drinking Mountain Dew in their mom's basement, well, so you too can spread your own message on social media. And nobody really knows who you are at that point yet. It's very simple. You start with one comment, and especially in the beginning, you're not going to get a whole lot of engagement, right? You're not going to get a whole lot of feedback about what you're saying. And so it's a very easy way to slowly build up momentum. You start with one comment, you realize, oh, nobody said anything about it. Nobody liked it. Nobody commented. All right, I'll do another one because that wasn't so hard. Nobody really noticed it. And you do another one, nothing happens. And you do another one, nothing happens. And then at some point, somebody you start liking or having hey, that was really insightful. And then you start building confidence over time. And so, yeah, with the introverts, it's little by little, right? Everybody starts, obviously, even on the introversion spectrum, everybody starts from a different standpoint. Some people are more advanced than others, but it's the little steps to build more confidence to the point where you can, just like I am today, right? I mean, I have no idea what your questions are going to be. And like I said, I'm very much an introvert. I'm going to need like 30 minutes to recover from this after we're done here. So you can build yourself up to it. But it will take some time. It will take some effort. And with a good coach, you can absolutely make your way up there. But it's also the recognizing your own strengths and believing in yourself through that confidence to make that happen. But yeah, no, introverts are just the same way. You absolutely can do it. And I would say, instead of going out there and starting your own podcast, jump on as a guest. Let someone else do the heavy lifting. Who cares what your camera looks like?
That's so true. Yeah, many people think they can only start when they have a good website or a good equipment, a good camera equipment. So it's the same is true with the website. You say, why do you wait for 3 months for a website? It's the same. Why do you wait for the best cameras? Just start with any camera you have. Yeah, and I like this partnership model. Yeah, and I also promote that. So do it with a coach or do it with a partner, and you can also offer services or your as a practitioner your skills together with somebody. Be creative and package that, right? I think this is possible, and you need not to offer everything yourself. I think many people think online they're alone and need to work as solopreneurs means you have to do everything yourself. Yeah. And what we talked before with the virtual assistants and what you can outsource, at the same time, you can also offer services and your skills together in a package with somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
No, it just it brought me up with a discussion that it's still ongoing, but I have a guy who is a marketing expert, but he's also an introvert and he's looking for help with that. And so we're actually looking to swap expertise, right? So he's going to give me his marketing expertise, and I'm going to give him my coaching expertise on introverts. So you know, you used to again, but it all goes back to networking again, meeting the right people, meeting them where they're at, and providing value, adding value, and helping each other out, collaborating with others.
Yeah, collaboration. And collaboration is also possible online. Maybe you need to find out the models than offline, but online is absolutely possible too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe Dimitri and you can have a chat up afterwards
Yeah,
on LinkedIn or any other channel.
Yeah, for sure. Let's
Great.
connect on
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
so
And
I consider myself to be in the introvert category. 9-10 years ago, one of my professors in a management class, she had us do this MBTI assessment, and I scored in the INTJ quadrant, which means I'm a solid introvert.
yeah, right.
But I feel like I have the potential to talk on various subjects, and the issue is not talking; it's the context. So, yes,
But this is a good example of where I'm saying, like, not every introvert is the same. Everybody has a different starting point. And everybody has a different ending point where you're trying to get to as well, right? So,
certainly.
right, yeah.
Yeah, great. So maybe some words for the summary, and then maybe I can say a little bit about the next weeks. But Felix, maybe what do you think? What is the main suggestion, the main advice you would give in the end of this session, or at the end of this session?
Yeah, I think just based on the discussion we had, it's just go out there and meet people, take action. Don't wait for perfection.
Great. Thank you very much, Felix, for this session. We have already planned the next 2 sessions in 1 week. We talk about ChatGPT and AI and how this helps us to grow as medical practitioners, as solopreneurs. And then in 2 weeks, we talk about social media marketing again from another perspective. Somebody who worked for a long time in agencies and in medical device and pharma marketing will give us her insights. And please come again and tune in every Monday. And we will be connected on WhatsApp as always. And we will promote this also on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram again. Thank you very much for everybody for joining.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome. Thanks for all the great questions. You guys really stimulated some good discussion. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining in the discussion and joining in the session. See you soon.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, Werner, since you're here, one thing I think we should do, tell each speaker that at the last 5 minutes to do a screen share and to basically promote themselves. So anything you want to promote, anything they want to get out of it, tell them to create a flyer and we'll give them the last 5 minutes to promote themselves and try to get some people to take action to grow themselves.
Yeah, this is what I tell the people.
Okay.
But Felix did it for the first time without slides and just like this in this conversational style. I mean, it was a different style, but I liked it very much. And
yeah, it was good.
No, I guess in the next sessions it will be more with slides again, as far as I know. So, but this is what I tell everybody, because the people, they ask me when they do it for free, or shall I do it for free, and then I encourage them to do it without any fees, right? And then I tell them, but as a on the other hand, you can promote yourself, of course. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
This is what I
Yeah,
do.
even if they don't have like, even if they only have one slide that they just saved for the last 5 minutes, here's how to contact me. Here, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the people know how to reach out. We send it into the chat, and maybe this is a good point. Now I can copy this brokesurgeon.com and send it into the WhatsApp chat. If you want to reach out to Felix after the session, go to brokesurgeon.com. I put it to the WhatsApp chat.
Yeah, maybe a link every week, and like just one link for our speaker.
Yeah, I will do that. Yeah, that's a good point. Good that I'm not still in the session, so I can copy it easily from the chat. Okay, great. Yeah.
Awesome.
So then see you on Wednesday.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Bye. Bye, Alex.
Alex,
Bye-bye.
see you in 10 minutes. All right, bye, guys.
Bye.